You're wearing clothes right now. So am I. And yet neither of us has ever asked the one question that should have been obvious since childhood. Why? Not what clothes we wear, not fashion, not style, not culture. The real question is stranger than that. Why did a hairless ape standing on the plains of Africa one day decide to cover its own skin? Because here's the thing, no other animal on Earth does this voluntarily. Not chimpanzees, not gorillas, not a single one of our closest relatives ever wrapped themselves in anything. So somewhere in our past, something happened. Something that pushed humans down a path no other species on the planet has ever taken. And the answer isn't what you think. For decades, the textbook explanation was simple. Humans lost their fur, got cold, and needed something to keep warm. Case closed. Except it isn't. Because if warmth was the only reason, clothing should have appeared the moment humans lost their body hair. But it didn't. There's a gap, a massive, unexplained gap of possibly over 1 million years. So what were early humans doing during that gap? Just freezing? This is where the story gets interesting. To understand why humans started covering their bodies, scientists had to become detectives. And their first clue didn't come from bones or fossils. It came from something far stranger. Lice. In 2003, biologist Mark Stoneking and his team studied the DNA of human body lice, the kind that live in clothing, not hair. Body lice can only survive if there's fabric to cling to. So by measuring how long ago body lice genetically split from head lice, researchers could estimate when humans first started wearing something on their bodies. The result stunned them. Roughly 170,000 years ago. That's tens of thousands of years after humans had already lost most of their body hair. Which means for a huge stretch of time, our ancestors were walking around Africa completely naked and completely fine with it. So something changed around 170,000 years ago. But what? Here's where things get strange. That time frame lines up almost perfectly with something else, a brutal ice age. Earth's climate was swinging into one of its coldest phases, and early humans who had evolved in warm African savannas were now being pushed into much colder, harsher environments as they began migrating. This is where anthropologist Ian Gilligan proposed a radical idea. Clothing wasn't invented for comfort, it was invented for survival during a specific climate crisis, and it changed everything about how humans could live. Suddenly, humans weren't restricted to warm regions anymore. With animal skins wrapped around their bodies, they could follow migrating herds into freezing terrain. They could survive in places no naked human body ever could. Clothing didn't just protect humans from the cold, it set them free. But here's the real mystery. Neanderthals lived in Europe for hundreds of thousands of years in brutally cold conditions, and they had no clothing sophisticated enough to survive extreme winters. Fossil evidence suggests Neanderthals used loose hides, almost like blankets, but Homo sapiens did something different. They developed eyed needles, tailored garments that fit the body, multiple layers. And this single difference, the ability to make fitted, insulated clothing, may be one of the reasons Homo sapiens spread across the entire planet, while Neanderthals eventually vanished. Think about that for a second. A piece of stitched leather might have decided which human species survived and which one didn't. But if clothing was purely about survival, that still doesn't explain everything, because once humans had functional clothing, something unexpected happened. They started decorating it. Beads, dyes, patterns, symbols. Archaeologists have found ochre-stained shell beads in Africa dating back over 70,000 years, deliberately pierced and strung together, almost certainly worn on the body. This wasn't about staying warm anymore. This was about something deeper, identity. And this is where psychology enters the story. Researchers studying enclothed cognition, a term coined by psychologists Hajo Adam and Adam Galinsky in 2012, discovered something remarkable. What we wear doesn't just change how others see us, it changes how our own brain performs. In their study, people wearing a coat they believed belonged to a doctor showed significantly better attention and focus than people wearing the exact same coat but told it was a painter's coat. The clothing was identical, the performance wasn't, which means clothing was never just about the body, it was about the mind. So the real reason humans started wearing clothes isn't one answer, it's 3, layered on top of each other across thousands of years. First, survival, then expansion, finally identity, transforming fabric into a second skin that communicates who we are before we ever speak a word. But here's the twist that should genuinely unsettle you. Every time you get dressed in the morning, you're unconsciously repeating a decision your ancestors made 170,000 years ago in the middle of an ice age. Today, you don't need clothing to survive most environments you'll ever enter. Heated buildings, climate-controlled cars, indoor everything. And yet you still choose your clothes carefully every single day, which raises an uncomfortable question. Are you dressing for survival, or are you still dressing for approval, the same way early humans used ochre beads to signal status and identity tens of thousands of years ago? Maybe the ice age never really ended. Maybe we just moved it into our closets.